My name's Adam Klasfeld. I'm a reporter for Courthouse News.
How has your recent popularity among Turkish followers affected your use of social media?
It's interesting. When I started covering the trial of Reza Zarrab, I announced to my followers that I would live tweet the case. And as soon as I announced that, that got retweeted to people who followed it, which got retweeted and got retweeted again, and all of a sudden I had a very large Turkish following, which continued throughout the trial. And the more that I saw this happening, I started out with something along the lines of 1,500 followers, and by the end of trial it was around up to 40,000. And when I saw this happening, it really sank in what was going on, that a lot of people in Turkey wanted to find out news about this case. And I felt lucky to be able to do my job, that every journalist wants to be able to report information that's of help to a lot of people, that makes an impact.
How do you see the future of journalism in relation to technological developments of our time?
It's an interesting and a complicated question. I think that the advance of social media is in many ways a very democratizing form, that anyone can access information that a legal journalist reporting from a New York courtroom can be a source of information for people in Turkey. And that makes social media a vehicle for democratizing information. At the same time, we've also seen how social media can have an inverse effect, how it can spread misinformation. So I think it's up to one journalist to use that platform responsibly, and I think that social media companies need to step up to the plate and really make sure that news and information is not censored and that it gets out there.
What was your reaction to live translations during your real-time coverage of the trial?
Start off by thanking anyone who would want to bring my live tweets to a broader audience. Like I said earlier, the dream of any journalist is to do the type of work that makes an impact. And it can't make an impact if people don't know what I'm saying. So translators who translated my tweets into Turkish, translators who translated my tweets into Persian, French, I've seen all sorts of live translation of my tweets, and I think it's just a wonderful thing. It really allows people to engage with live reporting in their own language, and for that I'm grateful.
How would you compare your social media habits before and after the Reza Zarrab trial?
I've been working for Courthouse News for about a decade, and I've tweeted about cases from the Chelsea Manning court-martial to military commissions at Guantanamo Bay, and even New York court cases. What happened after the Zarrab trial is all of a sudden my tweets are also read by lots of people in Turkey, and I'm very much aware of that, and I want to share news that is of interest to them, and so I am looking at Turkey a lot more. I am tweeting not only about the news, but about my own encounters with Turkish culture a lot more, from Raqqa to Türkavese and many other things. So, and I'll continue to do so.
What were the challenges in following this trial in New York?
The challenges were that it's a very demanding trial. It's a very complicated scheme it's alleged it was multi-billion dollars through several banks. Most of us have now seen the charts that I put out there. So it's a challenge to authenticate, map out all the information that's coming out there. The other thing, it's a long trial. It unfolded over the course of many months, including pre-trial. And so it required a lot of early mornings, a lot of late evenings, when there were things that I didn't quite know. This is where having a large Twitter following comes in handy. A lot of people crowdsourced information, gave me tips, said, hey, didn't you know that you talked about this person? Here is more information on this figure. So crowdsourcing is a powerful tool for journalists to really understand what's going on.
What kind of comments have you received while covering the trial?
Well, you know, generally speaking, people have engaged with the coverage every time at around lunchtime when I announced that there is a lunch break. People would share photos of Turkish food. This was, you know, when I said günaydın from New York, people wished me günaydın. And every time I said iyi geceler at the end of the night, it was, but beyond that, as I said earlier, there's also more, there's the question of crowdsourcing. And if I didn't know, if a name came up at trial that I wasn't familiar with, there would be dozens of people, sometimes hundreds of people or thousands of people just on hand to be able to help with the research, because this was information that they cared about and this was information that they knew about and could help out a New York-based rather than Turkey-based reporter.
How would you comment on the reflection of news from Turkey in American media?
In order to get the news out, we need to be there to witness it. And in order to be there to witness it, we have to have the freedom to witness and report. I would like to see more news coming out of Turkey. I would like to be there to witness it and report. And how has Turkish news affected U.S. news? Well, there was definitely back and forth in the Zarrab case that Turkish journalists brought context through which their U.S. counterparts could contextualize the events that were happening there. And I think that encounter enriches both. We share our perspectives, we share our understandings, and I think that kind of encounter only enriches journalism and enriches our understanding.
How does the world look in terms of press freedom when you look from the United States?
And in any way I can be a voice for press freedom, I will take that opportunity. Press freedom issues are very important to me. It's something that I've worked for lifelong as a journalist, and not only in Turkey. It is important to me that people have freedom of access to information in the United States. It's important to me that I've interviewed Kazakh journalists living in exile who have dealt with their own press freedom issues, who have been hounded and exiled for the crime of journalism. And that's the context in which I came to the case of Reza Zarrab, in which I encountered people who were facing blowback and were facing retaliation for reporting the news. And knowing that, I decided very early on that I will raise these issues whenever I can, and I will add my voice to those who believe that press freedom is important, because it truly is. Journalists are the eyes and ears of history, and they need to be able to witness it so that everyone else can.
Mr. Klasfeld, what would you say to your followers in Turkey?
Teşekkürler. It would be the overall message. Thank you for following. I'm glad that so many have found the information that I was reporting helpful. And, you know, it's what any journalist aspires to be, which is to be helpful to people for whom the information matters in their lives. So thank you for reading, and I hope to keep providing information that's of use, and I will listen to you at any time that you think I can help in that regard.
Hi, my name's Adam Klasfeld, and I want to say to my Turkish followers, Gazetecilik suç değildir. Teşekkürler for following.